What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I am here. Got one roster move that I want to tell you about. Also, there was a little clip on ESPN's show Get Up, where one of the guys on the show had some pretty strong comments about the Dolphins tanking that I want to give you. I'm gonna unfortunately right now I don't have the capability of recording videos and stuff like that. That's why I haven't been giving you guys the interviews that I normally have at the end of my videos whenever they come out. I am working on that. Eventually, at some point, hopefully in the near future, I'll be able to regain my ability to do so. It's just I have to pay for this one program, and I don't have the money for it at the moment, so bear with me on that. But I will get that. So I'm gonna play the clip, and I'm just gonna hold it up to my mic when I play it. So hopefully you guys can hear that, because I want you to hear what he has to say. So you'll get a little sound clip of it. Anyway, and then I have this other article that I want to read too. And discuss a little bit. So first thing is, we just signed, obviously with Minkah Fitzpatrick being gone, we kind of needed some help there, so they signed Doug Middleton, who's been with the Jets for the past 3 years. He started 4 games in that time, and he's had 33 tackles and 4 passes defensed. So I'm pretty sure Minkah's has those numbers over the just over the time that he's been with us, which is like a year. So, and I mean, obviously he's not nearly the talent that Minkah is, so just another downgrade, but obviously there was a hole there and we needed to fill it, so it's a body. Anyway, so that's the move. Doug Middleton, safety, to replace Minkah Fitzpatrick. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into this little soundbite here, this little clip, and this just goes to show you, it's very short. This is a major reason why guys like Minkah don't want to be here, and why they shouldn't have to want to be here. Like, I think the argument that, oh well, you're not competitive, or well, you should just play better on the field if you don't want your team to suck, even though it's the front office and the coaching staff that are, shaping this team and putting these personnel on the field. Like, come on, man. Anyway, here it is. So, let's see.
What are your thoughts on what they're doing in Miami?
It's unethical and morally reprehensible as far as I'm concerned, because we understand how dangerous football is as a game. Putting guys out there in this type of danger is a problem, but you can put that aside. I think as an employer, you have an obligation to provide as safe a working environment as you can, and also provide to people an opportunity to succeed. These young men have committed their lives to getting to the NFL, and the expectation is once you get to the NFL, the team will do the very best that they can do to make sure you succeed. They are not doing this there, and that's not fair, because these guys are physically paying the price. These guys are putting bad film on tape because they're not trying to win, and it's going to shorten their careers. And you know who's going to benefit from them? The owner and the general managers and maybe the potential future coach. These guys aren't going to benefit from it. They're going to be out of the league, having their careers ruined by a selfish team like the Dolphins.
What are your thoughts on what they're doing in Miami?
Yeah, so I mean, look, guys, and I've been saying it. They got to go out there. They got to put I'm tired of it, dude. I'm tired of these fucking players getting all this blame for, it's not their fucking fault. It's not their control. Again, because people, and then everybody, goddamn it, is trying to protect Brian Flores and this regime, dude. Everything that they are doing is terrible on multiple levels, right? Like he just said, it's unethical and morally reprehensible, right? Because, again, these guys have to go out there and put their lives on the line. Their lives on their line. Not just their careers, but their lives on the line. Because who knows what can happen. Sure, nobody's died from football in, a long time. But, I mean, at least not, from a injury right there, in the middle of playing, right? But, you know, tons of football players after they get out obviously die super young because of CTE and stuff like that. So they put their lives on the line, not just their careers. For what? For what? To trust that your gamble might pay off in the future and that we might possibly get to rise back up to competitive at some point? We just got to trust y'all's judgment that you're going to get these upcoming picks right and so on and so forth. But we got to sit here and suffer now. I got to waste prime years of my career. Nah, that's such bullshit. Fuck that. Right? So, yeah, that's why I'm just, dude, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of these players getting fucking blamed for it. It is not their fault. It is not the players who decided to choose, you know, cutting all of these different fucking players and so on and so forth, right? It wasn't the players' choice to fucking, to purge and to trade away all these guys, right? It's not them that's lying. It's not the players lying to everybody being like, yeah, we're going to be super competitive and try and win every games. And then fucking, you know, behind the scenes make all of these choices. Like, it's just absolutely crazy. So let's get on to this this article from ESPN. With 3 first-round draft picks in 2020, pressure is on Dolphins GM. The Miami Dolphins will run the 2020 NFL Draft, 2021 too for that matter, and General Manager Chris Grier is set to be the draft's kingmaker with 3 first-round picks to reshape the franchise to his liking. That's part of the reward for Miami's roster teardown and enduring what could be one of the worst seasons in NFL history. So pause real quick there. So we're already historically bad through 2 games, and we are on pace to be and have high potential to be the worst team in NFL history. I understand we want to get back to the days where we had the best team in NFL history, but this is not the way to do it. And I, for one, do not want to have to endure, and the players should not have to endure if they, you know, they should not get flack for wanting to leave because they don't want to endure the worst season in NFL history on the worst team in NFL history. That's absolute craziness. And anybody who wants this, right, even if we do end up successful later, why would you want this in the interim? Why would you want to be this bad? Why would you want to adopt a process of tanking where you're intentionally bad, right? Off of hopes and dreams, potential, not even fucking nothing that's guaranteed, not a single thing that's guaranteed. And that's a reward. Again, not guaranteed. There's no guarantee that they're going to get any of these picks correctly. And even if they do get them correct, right? Like, even if these guys do end up showing their picks end up even if their picks end up showing good things, they could still get hurt. There's all kinds of things that just are unknown, and you're just taking the most massive gamble that you possibly could. The Dolphins are all in on the future, and they have stockpiled a war chest of assets to bring in young talent via all avenues: draft, free agency, and trade. So real quick, they also lay out some of the notable transactions. Here are all the major transactions in Miami since Coach Brian Flores took over February 1st. Traded out of Miami: safety Minkah Fitzpatrick to Steelers, linebacker Kiko Alonso, wide receiver Kenny Stills, offensive tackle Laramie Tunsil, defensive end Robert Quinn, quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Just off of that list alone, and that doesn't even get cut from the Dolphins, left in free agency, just off of that list, the amount of talent, leadership, production, and experience that left this team is astounding. And then they were all replaced by, you know, average at best players. Then you cut from the Dolphins: defensive tackle Vincent Taylor, defensive tackle Akeem Spence, safety TJ McDonald, guard Josh Sitton, and wide receiver Danny Amendola. Left in free agency: defensive end Cameron Wake, right tackle Jawan James, running back Frank Gore. And then new to the Dolphins: offensive tackle Julian Davenport, who's now on IR, cornerback Johnson Batamosi, hasn't done shit, quarterback Josh Rosen, any potential the kid does have is going to be wasted and squandered here, quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, joke, right? Quarterback Eric Rowe. He's been victimized the entire time so far, right? So, I mean, it's a fucking joke. It's a massive joke. Let's continue, though. On Tuesday, the Dolphins traded safety Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Pittsburgh Steelers in a package highlighted by a 2020 first-round pick. It was yet another decision for Miami's front office that shows accumulating picks is the most important goal of 2019, even over keeping a talented 2018 first-round pick who was supposed to be a big part of the team's long-term future. Which, let's talk about that for a second. Yes, Fitzpatrick wanted out because... why would you want to put your life and your career on the line for this garbage? For historical ineptitude. The fact that he or anyone is getting blamed for that is just absolutely stupid. Okay? But yeah, and let's also keep in mind the team could have said no. They could have said no. There have been plenty of instances in the past where teams have had players be like, oh yeah, I want to get traded, and the team's just like, nah. Because the team can say no. They didn't actually have to trade him. Sure, he wasn't, or they weren't actively trading him. Sure, apparently they sat down with him to try and talk with him. And yes, he wanted out. But why did he want out? He wanted out because of the historical ineptitude. Because they don't care about winning. Because they don't care about the players. Right? They just want to do it all their way. They just want to fucking... I mean, it's just... It's just nonsensical. It's just absolutely non-fucking sensical. And again, none of it needed to happen. None of this was necessary. We could have avoided this whole thing right from the very beginning. But they just, I mean, like, it's, I can't even figure out, like, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You just get rid of all of these guys that right? All of those guys on those lists. Fitzpatrick, Alonzo, Stills, Tunsil. I mean, I was kind of whatever about Robert Quinn, Tannehill, Vincent Taylor, Akeem Spence, TJ McDonald, Josh Sitton, Danny Amendola, Cameron Wake, Juwan James, Frank Gore. All those guys, exactly what you get, and they're all guarantees, and they all add tremendous amounts of talent, leadership, blah, blah, blah to your team. So, like, they just want to do it all their way in the most, like, destructive and stubborn way possible. Like, and because, again, I didn't agree at all with the way that they handled this past draft. So, I mean, I don't, and look, I mean, Andrew Van Ginkel, one of them is on IR, right? I mean, none of the guys from this past draft are really, gonna make any kind of impact this year, right? Their growth is getting stunted. Even if you are satisfied with the picks, right? Like, I don't expect that they're going to handle the next few drafts adequately at all. I mean, they're going to take a quarterback high this next year. Yes, okay, sure, they got 3 first-round picks, and at least 2 of them could potentially be pretty high. But they're going to take a quarterback with one of them without addressing the offensive line that doesn't exist. And then even if they take even if they took 2 offensive linemen, which I find highly unlikely, though I think it's likely that they'll take 1. They probably won't take 2 with those 3 first round picks, maybe. But even if they did, I mean, that's still fresh, first year rookies that, need time to adjust into the NFL. Who knows? Maybe they could even end up being busts. We don't know. We know what Laramie Tunsil was. He was a guaranteed. He's a generational talent at his position. But now we got rid of him and all these other guys for hopes and dreams, rolling the dice, prayers. Maybe, hopefully, it'll work out. There is now mounting pressure on Greer to take advantage of every single one of these first-round picks and reward the franchise with a complete turnaround. Getting these picks is important, but it's only a piece of the journey. The fate of the Dolphins' rebuild lies largely in the hands of Miami's scouting department. It's a position that many front office executives would love to be in, with the power and assets to mold a team from scratch, but with great power comes great responsibility. Miami's own first-round pick has a 63.5% chance to be the number 1 overall pick and a 95.9% chance to be a top 5 pick per ESPN's FPI. The Steelers' 2020 pick, made worse by an 0-2 start and losing quarterback Ben Roethlisberger for the season, has a 29% chance to be in the top 5 and a 62% chance to be in the top 10. And the Texans' 2020 pick has a 10.8% chance to be a top 10 pick per FPI. So they have good picks, but again, you're taking such a massive, and you have a bunch of darts to throw at the board, but it's such a massive gamble. And again, they have to take time to develop. This is not a tank / rebuild that's going to take only 1 or 2 years. You're delusional if you think so. The Dolphins are also set to have 2 picks in the second and third rounds of the 2020 draft, giving them 7 likely top 100-ish selections next spring. That's before mentioning Miami has 2 first-round picks plus 2 second-round picks in the 2021 draft, courtesy of the Houston Texans via the Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills trade. Miami's projected to have over $100 million in salary cap space in 2020. That's an insane amount of draft capital and money to spend. We can do anything we want, whether it's free agency or draft, Greer said. We've positioned ourselves, we think, to do anything or get whatever player we feel that will help us as soon as possible. But you see how he said even there, we think. Because you don't fucking know. You've gotten rid of every, except for Xavier Howard, every like key fucking, player to build around. For what? For a hope that you can get it right maybe later? Again, like it's making us historically bad now and possibly for the next year or two for hopes, for prayers that you can get it right. And I don't have faith in them to do it. Miami is selling the glitter of the unknown and potential for something better in a Cleveland Browns-like rebuild. First of all, this is far beyond what they did. They did not do anything like this. Yes, they stacked cap space and draft picks, and now that's why they are flooded with a ton of talent. But also, let's note that they are struggling a bit as well. Their first game wasn't very good. So even with that, again, and not only that, but I think like David Njoku got a concussion. Like they even in that example, right? Like the Browns haven't risen to some major prominence yet, right? They certainly didn't do it to their rebuild to the depth and level that we have. And, again, things affect that along the way. Right? Young guys have to take time to develop and settle into the NFL, right? You guys might get hurt, right? Like, I mean, there's too much that makes this unlikely, right? There are too many. That's why I don't like it. That's why I hate the approach. Aside from the fact that I also will never, ever, ever support any kind of ideology or philosophy or process that involves us being this bad. No, because that's completely goes against everything that I believe in as a fan and so on and so forth. But we're destroying ourselves to epic legendary proportions just to gamble. And it's not a safe gamble, man. It's a massively unsafe gamble. It's super risky, right? And everybody's bitching that we've been mediocre for so many years. Okay, but now for this year and possibly next year and the year after, we have to be like absolutely atrocious, putrid, terrible. So again, even if you think that this might pay off, in the interim, we've sunk. And to epic proportions, historically bad proportions. So we go from being mediocre to having a glimpse of what a bright future can be with Adam Gase, because he took us to the playoffs, right? He was building a good culture and a good team. If given one more year, he could have gotten us back to that. I feel confident he could have gotten us back to where he was in year one. And real quick, on a side note with the Jets, because everybody's like, to be fair, I could be wrong about the Jets having a good season this year, but I'm guessing that Adam Gase will get it sorted out because he is a great coach. But let's also note that he's having to deal with some of the things that he had to deal with coming in here, right? So first he's having to deal with contracts of players he didn't want. He didn't want Le'Veon Bell and CJ Mosley and guys like that. He didn't want to spend that money on those big contracts, but he's just having to deal with it. Also, he's had some pretty major injuries, so things that are not under his control. So if given the time, I'm pretty sure Adam Gase is going to get that ship righted. But and also he was fired in part because he wouldn't tank. There have been reports that Stephen Ross asked him to tank and he declined, and you know, so that has something to do with it. But anyway, so we've gone from, but even in Gase's worst season, 6-10, we were still, in the mediocre range. Well, now, right, somewhere between 10-6, 6-10 is average mediocre, with obviously 8-8 being the dead even center. But anyway, now we're just absolutely putrid. So congratulations, guys. We get to be fucking worse than the Browns were at their worst. For what? For hopes and dreams. There's no guarantee that any of this is going to work out. Let's see. Many have gotten behind the tank for Tua plan. Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is projected as a top pick in the 2020 draft. There are reasons to agree with the plan to draft a quarterback of the future. But questions about the rebuild must seriously be asked of Greer and company after the Dolphins traded 2 of their past 4 first-round picks over the span of the past 17 days. Tunsil and Fitzpatrick were 2 of 3 Dolphins' core pieces for 2019, and now they're gone. This rebuild was supposed to be about dumping veterans without a long-term future, not 25 and under talent. And that's a major reason why this is going to backfire, because they're getting rid of a ton of not just, older guys, not just guys with bloated contracts, but they're also getting rid of tons of just super young, high level talent. Again, for hopes and dreams. What's most important for the Dolphins moving forward are the draft picks. Greer said the quarterback position will certainly be an option in next spring's draft. Hope always sells, and right now hope resides in Alabama. We're going to do whatever we can to make our room better right away. For us, yeah, we've all talked about the quarterback being an important piece and its competition, Greer said. We're not shying from that, so whoever is here, there's going to be competition. They're taking a quarterback high in the draft next year. Again, though, I never advocate for that. Will never advocate for taking a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. You should take a quarterback every year in the 3rd round or later. That's a more sustainable way to do it. There's no guarantee the Dolphins' bounty of draft picks will produce players who adequately replace Tunsil or Fitzpatrick. And that's just adequately. That's not to the same caliber of player that they are. Again, Tunsil is a generational talent at left tackle. It's just as likely future picks could end up being another Devontae Parker or Charles Harris, the Dolphins' first-round picks in 2015 and 2017 respectively, who are trending toward bust territory. Let's take that actually real quick as another point. So I think Charles Harris is like super on the edge to be evaluated. Right? Again, I think that players should be given their rookie contracts before they're evaluated. I think also that does take into other things should be taken into account, the team that they're on, so on and so forth, blah blah blah. Take it into full context, but you give them their rookie contracts at least before you evaluate them. And Charles Harris is there, right? But he's not going to perform well on this team this year, so that's not going to help him. So it looks like the Dolphins decide to get rid of 2 for sure guaranteed studs that we got right. 2 of our draft picks that we got right, our first round picks that we got right in Laramie Tunsil and Minkah Fitzpatrick, but they want to keep hoping and betting on guys like Devontae Parker, who, again, he was the guy I wanted in that draft. I have his jersey. I love the kid. I want to see him do great. It's not going to happen here. But they insist stubbornly, maybe we can make it work. And Charles Harris, I mean, they got rid of guys like, he's back now because of necessity, but they got rid of guys like Tank Carradine, Nate Orchard. They let, who were the top pass rushers in the preseason for us. They let guys like Cam Wake and Vincent Taylor and Akeem Spence go. Why? But you decide you want to keep Charles Harris. So their decision making is highly questionable. Or Raekwon McMillan or Mike Gesicki, Dolphins' second round picks in 2017 and 18, who haven't proven much yet. But they're not going to be given much of a chance though, right? I do like Mike Gesicki and Raekwon McMillan, and they're both in what year? Like 2 and 3. No, I think Gesicki. Yeah, see, McMillan was in 17, so he's in year 3, and Gesicki's in year 2. Or something like that. Anyway, they're still in their rookie contracts, so they're not yet to be evaluated, but in this year they're not going to have good film on tape like the one dude was saying, right? They're not going to be putting good film on tape, or they're not going to be putting good film out there. They're not going to have good production. So you're going to waste their young prime years, and you're going to stunt their growth and development. The Dolphins have selected 8 players: Parker, Jordan Phillips, Tunsil, Xavier Howard, Harris, McMillan, Fitzpatrick, and Gesicki in the draft's first 2 rounds from 2015 to 2018. Only Tunsil, Howard, and Fitzpatrick have proven to be worth those picks, and Howard is the only one on the current roster. Howard stands as likely the most proven foundational piece left. His reaction to the Fitzpatrick trade, tweeting a gif of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air Will Smith standing alone in an empty living room looking around, provides insight into how it feels to have yet another talent shipped away from Miami. Hence why the culture that is being instilled is toxic, and another reason why this is going to all backfire. History tells us there's some notable risk in betting the Dolphins will hit home run after home run, which is what they need. There are so many holes on this team that they literally have to hit home run after home run after home run. Consecutive home runs. All 3 of those first round picks have to be home runs. If even one of them is not, then... And look, again, they decided to get rid of the 2 first round picks that are guarantees, and decide to keep the 2 first round picks that are super close to being busts. Their decision-making skills are highly questionable at best. Not only at quarterback, but in filling the numerous holes on the team with their new draft capital. The good news for Grier is he added Assistant General Manager Marvin Allen and Senior Personnel Executive Reggie McKenzie to his front office this offseason. Both men are well-respected talent evaluators who will assist Grier in trying to turn the Dolphins around. All right, let's pause there for a second, because again, everybody gave shit to the Adam Gase regime because they apparently had too many heads in the room during draft nights and making these personnel decisions. But they had 4 guys, right? They had Stephen Ross, Chris Grier, Mike Tannenbaum, and Adam Gase. But now let's count how many guys that they have. That's 4, right? And then real quick though, before, during the initial phases of this, regime, changing of the guard or whatever, right? Reporters were giving Stephen Ross a ton of credit for trimming down the room and the number of heads in the room that had, you know, sway on the decisions being made, right? And at first, when it was Stephen Ross, Chris Greer as general manager, and Brian Flores as the coach, that was the case. But then they added Marvin Allen and Reggie McKenzie. Now there are 5 heads. So now there are 5 people. So like if you guys thought that they were making, you know, bad decisions, or it was an issue that they had 4 guys in the room that had input and say, now they have 5. So now how's that going to go? Not to mention, right, highly respected talent evaluators. Yet they have either cut, let walk, or traded. Just like, I don't know how to quantify the amount of talent, but they have just talent, production, leadership. I've been saying it. They've let all these guys go, and they have just massively downgraded across the board with the players that they brought in. And so even with those guys, so a lot of those guys, they're hoping, right? The one article I read for you the other day was saying that there could potentially be, you know, over 50% of this roster next year not are gone, right? Over 50% of the current roster that's here today gone next year. And that's terrible, because again, that shows you that you know, I mean, highly questionable decisions have been made. It's a multi-year tank job, blah, 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 blah. So like, I mean, I don't know, dude. Their ability to evaluate talent, to me, is getting pretty shaky. But the decision-making power ends with Greer, the draft's kingmaker, and the burden is on him to dominate in the draft realm, his area of expertise. Well, we'll see. I mean, you know, so far in the time that he's actually been running that, I mean, it's real hit or miss. And the good decisions that he made, the Tunsil and the Fitzpatrick ones, the for sure guarantees, he just decided to get rid of them. Yes, Fitzpatrick wanted to go, but it's because of how they shaped this team initially that drove him to want to get there, and how they were using him in ridiculous ways. It will be easy to forgive some of the team's past misses if the 2020 and 2021 drafts serve as the jumping off points for division titles and championships in 2023 and 2024. You're insane if you think that we're even going to be that close that soon. We're going to be struggling to be even just mediocre or relevant again by then. Greer has the power of the Dolphins' future in his hands, and the organization that is preaching trust the process as an unofficial motto is betting on him to lead the way. We positioned ourselves to where we think the organization will be in a good place here shortly. We'll be aggressive, Greer said. We're not going to sit back and not do anything. We're going to be very proactive and try and get this turned quickly. You could try. My guess is they're going to fail pretty miserably. September through December will be painful, but joy and hope come in April, and that's Greer's month to shine. No pressure. Possible joy and hope maybe can come in April. And that's only if they handle, you know, that draft correctly, and that'll be after, you know, several months of just total misery and despair because we are the worst team in NFL history. So we have to endure that, so that way next April we can maybe, you know, have some fun and some joy and blah 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 and hope. But that's if they get those picks right, which we won't even know for years to come. So, I mean, it's just total madness. Anyway, that's all I got for right now, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And, of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.